Hi, this is Paul Frields. I'm a bass player, musician in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I was inspired to make this video by a couple people. Scott Devine runs scottsbasslessons.com, which is an amazing academy full of premium content for a very reasonable price. He also does a lot of great free lessons for people that'll take your bass playing to the next level. Also, my man Ted Gould, aka Bliss, BLYSS. Ted also does some incredible free content, but he also has a newly launched site, sonofabase.com. You should definitely check it out. He's also running an academy throughout this year. It's an ambitious project called 365 Days of Bass, a lesson a day that's going to keep you busy and is going to develop your skills. So by the end of it, you are going to be way better bass player than when you started. You should definitely be a patron, both of Ted and of Scott. They are not only great players and great teachers, but they're also really good guys and very generous with their teaching. So hopefully if you like this video, you'll give it a thumbs up and please share it with other people. I would love that. And if you don't like it for whatever reason, hey, no sweat. Let's have a 2017 with a little less hate. I think that would be a great thing. All right, on to the good stuff. Okay, so why did I make this video? There are a lot of videos out there with amazing players that you can learn from. And the unfortunate thing is the quality of the playing is not always matched up with the quality of the audio that you get, right? Great players and teaching fantastic skills, but sometimes you can't really hear what's going on. This has been a problem, especially for me as a bass player, because, obviously it's an instrument that goes pretty low in the register, and laptop mics don't always pick up what they need to communicate the information to me so I can tell what the person is doing with my ear as well as my eyes. So maybe this this video may be helpful for anybody who's making those kinds of videos. So I'm going to show you how, with a couple of cool free programs, you can get started with your Mac, recording yourself for lots of different purposes, right? Not just teaching lessons online, but maybe doing a play along to a song, either for yourself to share with friends or a band, submitting an audition video if you're submitting for an entertainment company or a cruise line or anything like that. Often you have to do an audition video. This may be a way to get that done in a way that the staff will actually be able to tell what you're doing. Your skill will kind of come through. You can even stream live to Facebook or Twitch or YouTube or whatever you prefer. A lot of services this will work with. All right, so let's talk about hardware. So the great thing about this method is it probably doesn't require anything that you don't have already. The only thing you need is a computer, digital interface, microphone, and an instrument. Oh, and a set of headphones. So I'm using a Mac, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on here. A lot of musicians seem to gravitate towards them. The system setup that we're going to be doing here probably won't apply as well to Windows, but you may be able to do something like it. So maybe it'll touch off some ideas, and hey, maybe if you want to do a video of your own on a Windows PC, that would be great. So I have a MacBook Pro, but any Mac will do. I'm also using El Capitan, which is OS X 10.11, but this will work fine with earlier versions. It'll also work fine with the newer Mac OS, which I think is called Sierra. Should be fine there as well. You'll also need a digital interface. I have a Focusrite Scarlett 18i8, but any reasonably modern interface that has a couple inputs and a headphone out will work fine. It really is important because we're going to be using those headphones later on. So again, you just need two inputs and a headphone out. It doesn't matter whether it's connected by USB 2, Thunderbolt, or USB-C, Firewire, or something else. Again, these instructions should work fine. I should also mention the digital interface prices are incredibly cheap nowadays. So if you spend $100, if you don't have a digital interface, you can get something with those two inputs and a headphone out like I'm talking about. You're also going to want a microphone. Now, a mic that connects via USB isn't bad. I prefer to connect a microphone directly to a digital interface. A large condenser mic like this one is a good choice because it's sensitive and it's going to pick up your voice really well. And they sound great, right? I'm not guaranteeing your voice will sound great. I don't think mine sounds great, but the reproduction will be fantastic. Now, if you don't have a mic like this, a dynamic mic like a Shure SM58 or something like that is a good backup choice. But the great thing is these condensers don't cost much, right? 50, 75, $100 will get you a decent large condenser mic. Now, it may not be the quality of some of the best studio mics out there, but it'll certainly get the job done for teaching a lesson or recording like this for digital transmission. Now, of course, you're going to need your instrument, right? Whether it's guitar, keyboard, bass, whatever. You're going to connect that to the digital interface along with your microphone. And your instrument may be going through effects or a DI box or whatever it is that you need to get the sound that you want. Finally, you're going to want a set of headphones. Anything you can hear through is fine. Now, I've got a decent set of studio monitor headphones, which I really like. Sony MDR 7506s. I really like the sound of these. I'm very familiar with them, so they're a great choice for me. But anything will work. Even earbuds are fine, right? We're not doing a critical mixing. The whole point of the headphones is we don't want to be running studio monitors or speakers in the room that are going to feed back through the mic, right? They're picked up by the mic goes to the speakers go to the mic, there's your feedback loop. And if that happens, you could really hurt your ears, you could hurt your equipment, so it's best to avoid it. Headphones are great for that purpose. So I'm going to put these on now. Okay, so now let's talk about software. You're going to need two pieces of software. One of them is called the Open Broadcaster software, or OBS, and it's really popular. So you'll find a lot of people that are using it. You could download it straight from the web. It's very easy to get started. There's a lot of documentation on the site. I can't teach you all about OBS here. It's an entire application unto itself. But those helpful pages will get you started to at least the point where you can do some simple recordings. You can actually get pretty complex with OBS, so it's very powerful. The second thing that you're going to want to pick up is something called Soundflower. Now, Soundflower is a really, really useful utility that lets you route audio to a device that you don't actually have on the computer. Pick up the Soundflower release at this GitHub page, and I'm going to have the links in this video and also hopefully in the notes. You can basically just install it following the directions that are on the site. And where you want to go to is the releases page, and you'll see releases up at the top of the Soundflower file list. Go download the version you need and follow the easy instructions on the site to install it. All right, so the next step is that we want to set up the audio on our system. Now, the great thing about Macs is they provide an audio setup tool that's very advanced in terms of what it lets you configure. So you can find this in the utilities folder in your Launchpad. So bring up the audio MIDI setup, and what you want to do is take a look at the display. And what you're going to see is probably something very much like what I have here. Now, I'm assuming that you have installed Soundflower correctly, right? And you're going to see these two devices that I see here on top of my expected devices. So I see my built-in microphone and built-in speakers for my MacBook, and I also see my Scarlett interface. Then I've got these two new interfaces here as well, Soundflower 2-channel and 64-channel. We're going to ignore the 64-channel one right now. We don't really need that. All we need is the 2-channel one. What we're going to do is use a really keen feature that your Mac has built in, which allows you to create a multi-output device. So if you go down to the lower left, and you can add a device for this list, and what we want to do is create a multi-output device. And what you're going to do when you create that multi-output device is you're going to select two devices to be a part of that multi-output. One of them is your digital interface. For me, that's my Scarlett. And the second one is the 2-channel Soundflower device. So both of those are going to be hooked to the multi-output device. The first thing that I want to note about this is your digital interface is probably providing the clock source, right? You're going to see a little clock icon there. They're very accurate, right? Digital interfaces all usually have their own clock source built in. And so it's very accurate. And so you're going to slave other devices to that. So it's not a bad idea to check the drift correction box for the Soundflower 2-channel. Then just to keep everything in sync as you go. The other thing that you want to do is make sure that the multi-output device is selected as your default sound output. So you can right-click the multi-output device and select it to use it for default output from your system. What this means is that when sound is issued by an application on your computer, it's going to go to two places. It's going to go to the digital interface and it's going to go to the Soundflower. So when it goes to the digital interface, you're going to hear it in the headphones, but you're also going to have that output going to the Soundflower device, which means that we can actually capture it back and do something else with it. So this is where things get really cool. The next thing that you're going to want to do is open up an application that's going to provide the backing or play along track that you need for your lesson video. In my case, I've got iTunes open. Google Play Music or other apps will work just fine. The QuickTime player, anything that's going to normally produces an audio track for you, will work fine. I'm going to test this, and you should actually be able to hear this once I start playing it. You'll actually be able to hear this on the video. Groovy. I like it. Fantastic. All right, so that works great. Now, so what's happening is that track is actually going to my digital interface. Like I said, using the multi-output device, it's going two places at once. It's going to the interface, meaning I'm hearing it in my headphones. It's also at the same time going to the Soundflower interface. And the Soundflower interface is kind of a fake or virtual device. It doesn't really exist, but the computer treats it like it does. And then I'm capturing that for our video. I'm going to show you that part in just a second. One quick note here. If you're using copyrighted music in a play along or a backing track, you may run into issues because a lot of the services out there, whether they're capturing video like YouTube or if it's an upload service like that, or if it's a live service like Facebook, they are really good at detecting known tracks by artists which are copyrighted. I'm not here to lecture, and I'm not here to discuss legality or fairness, regardless of whether you or I might think it's fair or not. Just keep in mind that at a technical level, this is going to restrict how you use this method. So if you're using backing tracks or your own original music, that's probably going to work fine, right? The point is that you're responsible for following the restrictions on the music you use, and obviously I can't be responsible if one of the services kind of shuts the video down for that reason. So just be careful and have fun. Now let's talk about how we're going to set up OBS, the Open Broadcast software. So I'm going to switch over here to OBS so you can see what's happening here in the OBS setup itself. All right, so now we're in the OBS interface. Again, I can't explain the entire application to you, but I'm going to give you a couple hints about what you're going to want to do to get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is add two audio sources. One of them is the input, which is coming from your digital interface already. The other one is to recapture output. That's the output that we're routing using the multi-output device to the Soundflower fake device. I call it a fake or a virtual device because it doesn't really exist, right? There's no physical box it's connected to, but the computer treats it just like one, which means we can capture the audio back out of it. So in the sources, you're going to use the little plus button in the source under the sources window to add an audio input capture. Give it a name that you can remember, like the name of your interface. I use Scarlett for mine, as you can see. Then when the window comes up for selecting, simply select the actual interface itself. Then you're going to do the same thing for audio output capture. You're going to add an audio output capture device, and you're going to call it Soundflower, or you might want to call it iTunes or whatever the app name is that you're going to capture audio from. And you're going to tie that to the Soundflower 2-channel feed. Remember that duplicate device that we're sending the music that we're listening to. It's going to come back through that device, so it'll be recorded into our video too. Now, if you're wondering why we don't just use an audio output from the digital interface, the reason is that output is also, if your interface is working like most of them do nowadays, it's also sending your voice and your instrument back to you, right? Which means we would be doubling up those instruments and trying to mix them together with the voice and instrument that we're already recording from the audio input. That means you get comb filtering and all sorts of really nasty stuff. It would make your video sound terrible. So this is a way to keep those feeds separate but still allow us to record both of them and mix them back together for the video. Now, a couple hints I'm going to give you here. If you look at the mixer, you'll see there's a gear next to the word mixer. That's the overall global mixer settings. There are a couple things that I want to point out for you. If you hit that gear icon, unfortunately I can't show it to you here, but if you hit it, you'll see this. You're able to set the level for each of the audio sources independently. What I normally do is I set the Soundflower capture down a few dBs. Now, this will probably come up as about 70 or minus 3 dB. Try what works for you. If it's a very loud backing track, you may need to turn it down a little more. If it's a very quiet track, you may not need to turn it down at all. Another setting that you definitely are going to want to check out is the downmix setting. You're going to want to downmix the input from your digital interface to mono. By default, most interfaces are going to send back one channel of input for your computer to record. And when that gets mixed, OBS is going to naturally mix that into its first channel, which is the left side. That means that if you're trying to do a video, all of your voice and your instrument is going to come out on one side of the video, whereas the track that you're recording is going to come out in stereo. If you downmix the interface to mono, that's going to put everything in the middle. It should sound pretty good, hopefully like this one does. So you definitely want to downmix that. What you don't want to do is downmix the Soundflower or backing track channel, because that's going to come out in pristine, glorious stereo, and that's just where you want to keep it. So this should make your video come out pretty good. The last thing that I would recommend is that you look at sync offset. And that field is actually going to let you change the delay between when the audio is mixed into the video and the video signal. What you're going to find is that if you're recording through a web camera, actually most cameras, the video is going to come in just a little behind the audio. The audio is coming in super fast because it's very, very small amounts of data compared to the video that's being captured and compressed and printed. So you're probably going to need to delay your audio by a little bit. Now you're going to have to experiment to figure out what this is. For me, 100 milliseconds usually does it, and I delay both the audio channels the same way. And that way they come out in sync, and hopefully it looks that way for this video, and you'll know that it's correct when you watch the video back. Once you have those in the mixer, you're going to see that output from your voice, output from your instrument, is going to be coming to your digital interface. What's going to be coming to your Soundflower is music from the track that you selected. Pretty cool, right? Now you're going to be able to mix them together. So at this point, you're ready to go. Now, in order to actually run a video, you're going to need to use the start and stop recording or start and stop streaming on OBS. Now, how to do that recording and how to do that streaming, again, is kind of beyond this video, but you'll find a lot of help for that at the OBS community if you're interested. All right, so if we managed to do everything correctly, then this next demo should work fine. You're going to hear me playing along just to a smidgen of this track. Hopefully nothing that's going to set the internet police on fire. So let's see how it works. Sounds good to me. Anyway, I hope this has helped you. I'm going to provide a bunch of notes and links under this video, and I hope you like it. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and leave some comments if there's something that you thought was unclear, or if there's something that you'd like to pass on, a hint for other people. Feel free to leave it there as well. I hope to hear from you, and I hope this was helpful, and have a great 2017.